I recently went on a bit of a killer robot movie kick. There's just something so satisfying about watching something that was built and designed by man go haywire and turn on its creators that makes it such a fun subgenre. But I've already seen all the classics, Terminator and RoboCop for instance, even though that's not actually what happens in either of those movies. But the point is, I decided to hunt down some under-the-radar machines gone berserk movies that no one ever really talks about. The first movie I watched was Automatic, a straight-to-video action flick from 1995, starring French martial artist Olivier Gruner? I'm gonna say Oliver Gruner, I don't fucking know. His robotic acting style makes him perfect for the lead in these types of flicks.
Stop! You are trespassing on personal property.
In fact, this was the second time he played a cyborg, having previously starred in Albert Pune's Nemesis, which is actually one of Albert Pune's better films, to be honest. Automatic was an early directorial effort from John Larroquette, who later helmed such classics as Cop Dog and Santa with Muscles. More recently, he directed a film called Assimilate, and the only reason I've ever heard of that one is because Andy Manichak from the new Halloween movies does nudity in it. In the grim darkness of the near future, the RobGen Corporation is creating robotic manservants referred to as automatics. RobGen's corrupt CEO, Goddard Marx, is played by John Glover. The man has made an entire career out of playing corrupt CEOs.
Hello, I'm Goddard Marx, president of RobGen Industries.
One of the board members tries to rape an executive, Nora Rochester.
Shut up! Shut up here! Stop fighting!
But she's saved by an automatic called J269, played by Gruner.
Please, sir, don't.
He kills the would-be rapist in a struggle, and since an automatic with a body count would cause a huge scandal for the company, Marx decides to lock the building down and call in a squad of mercenaries to eliminate J269 and Nora. So it's like Die Hard meets the Terminator, and nowhere near as good as either of them.
No, unfortunately, this has to be nasty.
Nora is played by Daphne Ashbrook. The year after this movie came out, she starred as the Doctor's companion in the failed US-oriented reboot of Doctor Who. You remember the one where Eric Roberts played the Master?
I always dress for the occasion.
There's supposed to be a romance going on between her and Gruner, but it's one of the worst movie romances I've ever seen. I mean, the guy's literally an emotionless robot with no personality. Yes, he saved her life, but how am I supposed to believe that she's falling for him?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Well, I guess he's better than this guy.
In the old days, I would have raped and tortured you for hours before killing you.
Oh yeah, this would have been special.
There's just not enough time for life's simple pleasures. Oh well. Good night.
Fucking hell. Honestly, this movie's biggest flaw is that it's horribly shot and lit. 90% of the time, it's just too damn dark to see anything. I mean, what is this, AVP Requiem? All of the action scenes are just a seemingly infinite number of goons firing their guns into dark rooms. Hardly exciting. But the worst has got to be when these two naked girls show up and it's still too dark to see anything. Come on, I wanted to see those!
God damn it, I told you to wait in the other room! Jesus Christ, get out!
What's his problem?
There are a couple of decent moments. There's a kind of cool sequence where J269 and Nora are hanging from the bottom of an elevator, and J269 does this. Then the lift starts coming down the shaft towards them, and they only barely get away in time. They encounter one of RobGen's rejected designs, and it's this freaky robot butler. Would you want this thing in your home? There's also a pretty funny moment where Gruner just casually crashes backwards through a wall. Marx gets paranoid about his other automatics possibly going rogue too, so he starts shutting them down by ripping their batteries out of their heads. That's a pretty neat effect. Eventually, our intrepid heroes escape down the incinerator shaft and end up in the basement, where there's a ridiculous last-minute plot twist that Nora herself is an automatic. What? Would have been nice if they'd used the hour and a half leading up to this to maybe, I don't know, set this plot point up at all? Seriously, it comes out of fucking nowhere. And since the movie's literally about to end, it doesn't really make a difference anyway. J269 kills the leader of the Mercs. I think Glover gets his. His over-the-top death is pretty hilarious. Then J269 and Nora escape to, I guess, start a life together, where they can do as much J269ing as they like. Thankfully, the next movie I watched was much better. Evolver, released the same year and also released straight to video. This one's helmed by Mark Rosman, who directed one of my favourite horror movies, The House on Sorority Row. Be sure to check out my review of that movie on my channel, and then check out every other video I've made. Evolver stars Ethan Embry, back when he was still going by his real name, Ethan Randall. Embry plays Kyle, a pro gamer who wants to be the best at laser tag, but he gets beaten by a girl. An actual gamer girl. But Kyle's not just a gamer, he's also a elite hacker. In other words, he's a total dork. He hacks the laser tag leaderboard to put himself in first place, and as a result, he wins his very own robot, courtesy of the Cybertronics company. Man, Cybertronics is such a better name than RobGen. It figures. Anyway, this is Evolver, a cool little robo-dude programmed to play laser tag, but with a twist. Every time he loses a game of tag, he, well, evolves to become harder, better, faster, stronger.
Bullseye.
The girl from the arcade shows up to Kyle's house because she wants to hang out with him. Imagine a girl you'd randomly talk to for less than 5 minutes, knocked on your front door, and asked to play video games with you. That's how you know you're watching fiction.
Well, you know, if you need another player or something, there's a chance to get even.
Okay.
Her name is Jamie, and she's played by Cassidy Ray in her debut role. She went on to be on various soap operas in the late 90s, but eventually retired from acting to start a family. Kyle and his friend Zach do what any teenage boys would do in their situation and sneak the robot into the girls' locker room at school to record illicit videos for them.
Target identified. Snatch, snatch.
The girls find Evolver and kick him out, so he ends up in the boys' room, which is empty except for the school bully Dwight. What the fuck? He put his trousers on immediately after getting out of the shower. Without drying off? Wouldn't he be down for the rest of the day? Not to worry though, because Evolver fucks him up good and proper. Later, Zach steals Evolver for himself so that he can retrieve the locker room footage.
What the hell? As long as there's faces and tits.
You said it, brother. But Evolver goes berserk and starts slicing him up. This scene is cool, but the music is way overhyped. It's so out of place.
Game over.
On his way home, Evolver stops by the arcade to kill some more gamers. Doing God's work there, pal. Meanwhile, Jamie is mad at Kyle because of what he and Zach did earlier.
Jeez, Kyle. If you're so interested in girls, why don't you try asking one out?
So immediately after finding out he's a creepy perv who took nude photos of her classmates without their consent, she as good as throws herself at him. This movie isn't just science fiction, it's outright fantasy.
Unbelievable.
Growing suspicious of Evolver's increasingly lethal behavior,
I swear, I'll cut your fucking throat.
What did he just say?
Back off or the bitch dies.
Kyle and Jamie confront the man who built them, Russell Bennett, who reveals that Evolver is in fact a reprogrammed military robot. Don't people in these movies ever learn? Don't turn military AI programs into children's toys. One of the soldiers here is played by Michael Champion, a prolific character actor. He gets a mention in the opening credits, but he's ultimately only on screen for less than a minute. You might also recognize Bennett's actor, John Lancie of Star Trek fame. One of his best known roles is that of the narrator in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Coincidentally, that movie has the same cinematographer as Evolver, Daniel C. Pearl. He shares duties with Jack Aitken, who's shot several New Line movies, most notably A Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, and speaking of voiceover work, Evolver's voice is credited to W.H. Macy. I guess that must be William H. Macy, but to be honest, it doesn't really sound like him, so I'm not so sure.
Sword objectives. Infiltrate. Attack. Destroy enemy.
Kyle and Jamie have to race home to save Kyle's kid sister Allie, who's playing laser tag with Evolver. Rosalind manages to wring some pretty decent tension out of this scene, as Allie is blissfully unaware of the mortal danger she's imminently in.
You're just not fast enough, huh?
Things get worse when Evolver chases her outside and tries to electrocute her, with only an inflatable crocodile between her and certain death. Well, until Jamie pulls her to safety and her feet clearly touch the water. She should be getting fried right now.
I don't think so.
Evolver's not done for just yet, though.
Hey, you're working.
He's still got a game to win. He disposes of Bennett. Then heads to Kyle's house for the final battle. He takes his mom and sister hostage with a modified laser tag gun. But Kyle's too busy getting his rocks off with Jamie. Bitch, this guy has shown literally no interest in you the whole movie and you're still pursuing him? When people complain about badly written female characters who exist only to be of service of the male protagonist, this is who they're talking about. She's got to be one of the worst female characters I've ever seen.
Right. I forgot. You only date computers.
Kyle does eventually return home to confront Evolver, who wants to play one last round of laser tag.
Enemy number 1. Welcome to the final game.
He even evolves to his final form, which still looks as silly as all his other forms. But that's what makes him awesome. After a couple of fake out endings, Kyle finally finishes Evolver off with the help of the modified laser gun. Evolver is a dumb movie, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. And it's a damn sight more entertaining than Automatic. Evolver is a cool villain with well-realized special effects. Watching it spiral further and further out of control is enjoyable, and while the characters themselves aren't exactly likably written, the young actors do a good enough job that you still want to root for them in the end. I give Evolver a solid thumbs up and Automatic a resounding thumbs down. The movie chat board for this movie is fucking insane. You know, movie chat is an archive of like the old IMDb message boards. There's a post from 18 years ago, God, 18 years ago, saying this movie needs a sequel. And then one of the responses from Adam878, not me, this is from 17 years ago, says, and they should bring back Cassidy Ray. She is very stunning. I plan on writing to her. Even if a letter does not reach her, or if she does not reply, I'm still going for it. Fortunately, that's the last post I can find from him, so I don't know if he did write her, and you know, if he ever heard back from Cassidy Ray. Then someone else replies to the thread twice. It's the same guy, but in two different posts. He's called it Deanie308-2. First he says, I'd love a sequel with either Ben or Casey Affleck as Cassidy's new boyfriend. And then the next post under it says, if the same cast made it to the sequel, it would be a shock to see Ben Affleck as Cassidy's hubby. That would make Ethan crazy. Then there's another thread from 15 years ago by AWERTH, or maybe that's Aworth. I assume it's just letters. The thread title is just Cassidy Ray. He's just talking about how great Cassidy Ray is. Does anyone else like me think Cassidy Ray was totally hot and just so great in this? Multiple exclamation marks. Just her performance alone in this made me want to collect all the movies she is in. Who would not want to play laser tag with her? I would be one tickled guy if Evolver went after her. She is what made me watch. What does that even mean? I would be one tickled guy if Evolver went after her. I love her eyes and smile. Many have their favorite actresses who are their favorite because of their acting ability and beautiful looks. But for me, Cassidy Ray is my #1 favorite. Too bad she is done acting according to her IMDb page. And then good old Deanie308-2 also comments on this thread. Also again talking about the fucking Affleck brothers. First of all, he says, you know what would be fun? Watching Cassidy Ray and play nude laser tag with both Ben and Casey Affleck. What's this dude obsession with the Affleck brothers and Cassidy Ray? It's so odd. And then he has another post under that saying, she looks terrific in that purple blouse when she comes over to his house. I'm sure Ben Affleck, or should I say Joe Willie Clemens, would have loved a piece of that action, per se. Oh dear Lord.